this lesson, you'll learn how to use Android property animation capabilities. The property animation system allows you to animate almost anything. You can define an animation to change any object property over time, regardless of whether it draws to the screen or not. A property animation changes a property's value over a specified length of time. To animate something, you specify the object property that you want to animate, such as an object's position on the screen, how long you want to animate it for, and the values you want to animate between. The property animation system lets you define the characteristics of an animation, such as duration, repeat count, property change characteristics, and frame refresh rate. In the API Demos worksheet, there are a number of animation demos in that primary group. We're going to use the Flip View demo in line 17 to explore using property animation. It has a Java file name of List Flipper. So let's start it in the emulator by clicking Animation, View Flip. When we click the Flip button, it flips from English to French and back again. Let's open the Java code in Eclipse. In the animation source folder, we'll open List Flipper. In line 42, we have the activity class List Flipper declared. In line 44, a variable for the duration in milliseconds of the animation is declared at 1500 milliseconds, which means the animation will last a second and a half. In line 45, a seek bar is declared, but it looks like there was an intention to use a seek bar as part of the animation, but it was never implemented in the demo, so we're going to ignore that. In lines 47 through 61, strings for the English and French words for the arrays to be flipped are declared. In lines 64 and 65, list views for the English and French lists are declared, and you might want to review our lesson on lists for background on list views. In line 69 through 92, we have the onCreate method for the activity. And within that, in line 71, we have the setContentView method that's using the rotating list layout. So in layouts, we'll look for the rotating list. And in line 17, a linear layout is declared. In lines 21 through 25, a flip button is defined. In lines 26 through 36, two list views are declared, one for the English list and one for the French list. In line 36, the French list is set to visibility gone, so initially the English language version of the list is visible. Now back to the List Flipper Java code. In lines 73 and 74, list view variables are set up for English and French views in the layout. In lines 77 through 81, array adapters are defined using the simple list item 1 format for each string list of words. Lines 83 and 84, we set the adapters to their respective views in the layout. In 85, we set the degrees that the view is rotated around the vertical axis through the pivot point. Increasing values result in a counterclockwise rotation from the viewpoint of looking down on the y-axis. Lines 87 through 92 define a listener for the button and execute the flip it method defined below when the button is clicked. The flip it method is referenced here, and we'll see it below in a moment. Lines 95 and 96 set up interpolators for acceleration and deceleration of movement, and an interpolator is used to define the rate of change of an animation. In lines 97 through 123, we have the flip it method that does the actual flipping of the lists, and as you recall, this method's executed when the flip button is pressed. In lines 98 and 99, we define a visible and invisible list view used internally in the method. Lines 100 through 106, there's a test to see which view is not visible, and the internal list view variables, visible list and invisible list, are set accordingly. Let me expand this window out so we can get a better view of the code as we continue. In line 107, an object animator is defined for the visible to invisible rotation. The property to animate is specified as rotation Y. In 108, the duration of this animator is set to 500 milliseconds. In 109, the interpolator for this animation is set to accelerator. In lines 110 through 113, an object animator is defined with settings for the invisible to visible rotation. In lines 115 to 120, a listener is set up to respond to the end of the flip animation. And when it's activated, the visibility status of the lists is switched, visible to invisible and invisible to visible. And finally, down in 122, the flip is started. Now, that's our lesson on property animation. It's a very flexible set of capabilities that can add interest to your apps.